You have to look at each bank separately because each bank has a different kind of a balance sheet and a different kind of, franchise. I like what Federal Bank has reported, and anything above 15% or anything in and around 15%, I think is a good number for a balance sheet of that size. Similarly, I'm talking about deposit growth here. Second, if one looks at the credit offtake also, especially for Federal Bank, it's actually not bad. RBL seems to be exhibiting there's a turnaround happening in the business, but I think markets will wait for some kind of an evidence because the base had become low and the year-on-year numbers are looking decent. Then there is AU. AU, because of that merger, is reporting a different set of numbers. So those numbers, in a sense, has to be measured in the lens of what the real number is. By and large, if I look at the growth trajectory, none of the banks, and I'm calling them as as medium-sized banks, are showing any signs of demand drop. None of the banks are showing that CASA seems to be going down in a very alarmistic manner. So these numbers are good numbers. They endorse the obvious, which is that for the banking sector per se, the growth is intact, and at least the mid-tier banks are growing at a rate which is higher than the credit growth of the industry. I don't think these numbers would re-rate any banks because most of the banks, in a sense, are enjoying this kind of positioning, but there's nothing scary in any of the banks which have reported their quarterly updates, like what we heard from Mahindra and Mahindra Financials. That kind of a scary picture is not being painted by the banks which we've discussed, at least by RBL, Federal Bank, and for that matter, IndusInd Bank.
There comes a time when your heart calls for you to arise. Plant your feet solid into the ground. Decide your own limits, and then break right through them. Become something more. It's my time to rise.